I've been to Moscow one time. I was filming a movie called Blitz Me Boy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
How do you like here in our country, in our city?
I love the scenery, but I didn't get to do much because I woke up at like 6 in the morning and I worked till like 10 at night because it was at no union. So they kept working me. So I kept shooting all these scenes, and I never got a chance to see the city. Then 2 days later, they flew me to Kazakhstan.
Oh, really? Well, I hope someday you'll have a chance to visit Moscow and to see the sightseeing, to go sightseeing.
Yeah, yeah, one day.
I'm definitely sure you're gonna like it. Mr. Lee, I would like to start with the very sad news. Maybe you know that Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov actually passed away. Of course, it is a great sorrow for us, for Russians, and for Khabib. That's obvious. What do you think about him? What do you think about this man, about him as a coach, about him as a person, and about his influence on world's MMA?
I never got a chance to meet him, but my coach Javier Mendez is, Khabib's coach, and then
Khabib.
Yeah. So I've also fought on the Sanda circuit for many years, I got a chance to meet a lot of great Russian fighters and become friends with them, like Muslim, right? Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
He's also fighting in the UFC, and then there's a lot of good Sanda fighters, kung fu fighters that are fighting in the UFC now. So I'm very proud that the art of kung fu is going in there. I heard a lot of great things about Khabib's dad, and someone who it's almost scary because I see him wrestle with Khabib, and then he's really strong, and then with the COVID-19, there's a lot of things that people are not saying, right? Because I know there's an antibiotic that would really help that, but then the people here say that doesn't help. So there's a lot of I know he died of complications with the COVID, right?
Yeah.
Someone that strong, that healthy, it's just hard for me to wrap my head like how it's a sad loss for the martial arts world. He was a mentor to many. And but I'm sure Khabib and everyone he mentor, it's like that tree that keeps growing and growing down and down, and it'll spread the knowledge down for the martial arts community. So we can always honor him as a great mentor and as a great leader, and then we just gotta do our best to keep his legacy going for the
And by the way, if you remember, if you don't know, I will remind you that Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov actually raised 18 champions of the world in different martial arts, like freestyle wrestling, MMA, and many others. They say that Khabib, who actually lost the most important man in his life, they say that Khabib should quit the fight with Justin Gaethje, which is scheduled on September. What do you think about that? Should he?
Well, look, it's a double-edged knife that I see, right? I was never close with my father, right? So if I can only reverse it, like I have a son, if something happened to him, I don't know if my head would be clear in order to fight. But at the same time, it might drive me and put that fire in me and dedicate the fight to whoever I'm fighting for. So I know Khabib looks up to his father, and his father was his mentor, his coach, his friend. I mean, he was like that powerful figure in his life. So if he can feed off the fire, I think he can turn it and make it work for him. But like I said, this is a double-edged knife. If he's hurt and he's stressed and he's not handling his father's, death, then I think he should wait until he's ready. But for me, I think I can't speak for him because
Yeah.
I'm not close with my father. I make sure I'm a great father to my kids, but if something happened to my kids, I don't know what I would do yet. That's
All
a
right.
hard.
We will talk about MMA and about your family, of course, a little bit later. But now, could you please tell me how did pandemia and quarantine influence on you? What were you doing during quarantine?
Well, I know that during quarantine, there was a lot of racist that was happening against the Asian people, especially the older people here in America. So I just started a YouTube channel. Well, I had a YouTube channel, but I wasn't really focused on it. So I started teaching them about situational awareness and
Self-defense, yeah?
yeah. Well, self-defense.
Well, I saw.
Yes, it's a form of self-defense with pepper spray.
Yeah, I saw it.
And then
saw
also
it.
having situational awareness. So I started Kung Li Official, and I pushed it, and because like a lot of martial arts, we spend years and years and years, and we can handle ourselves, we can take care of ourselves. But what if it's someone who never done martial arts before, and now they need to do it? So if they did like a boxing class for exercise, you put a knife in their hand, and instead of like doing the knife slices, you punch with the knife like a reverse grip. So that's what I was teaching. I was teaching about pepper spray. I was just talking to people. I did a lot of live feeds, and I just continued my training. And I've been writing scripts for my movie. Mm-hmm. So during quarantine, I had a lot of time. I wrote like 3 scripts.
Oh, really? That's great. The thing I wanted to know that in Russia, while we were staying during the quarantine, we had to stay at home, and our government, through the television, through the internet, was telling us, stay at home, don't go away because it is too dangerous. And the people started just to go mad. They start to lose their mind, sitting in this box, and they just was this the same for you in America?
No, it was a little bit different in America. Over here, people are very rebellious, right? So they go and do stuff, and like for me, I have a family. I needed the break, so I stayed home a lot. And then when I needed to go to the store, I would wear my mask and I would go to the store and then go take care of getting food for my family and then coming home.
All right. So you told me a few words about your channel where you were training people how to defend themselves. Could you please say it, make it more wide? So why did you decide to do it?
The reason why I pushed hard the self-defense on my YouTube channel was because in America, a lot of people were being racist because, of course, the president, Trump, says it's the Chinese virus. It was the Kung flu. So everyone started taking it out on the Asian people. And I got upset and I posted a lot of people because now we have social media. And then all the mainstream media, I call that fake media because the government wants you to only know what they want you to know, right? But on social media,
sure. In Russia, it is the same.
People report about the real stuff. So, God is great. I believe in God. I'm a man of faith. So I try to preach, have faith, and always know, don't do your research. Don't just see something on mainstream media and, oh no, the mask will help. If you really think of the mask doesn't really help. You need the virus to get in your eyes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right you up. Mr. Lee, what speaking about racism, what do you think about this situation that actually occurred after George Floyd murder? I mean, when the people stand down on their knee and so on and so forth. Don't you think that it's going too far now?
I agree. There's everyone's behind the Black Lives Matter, and I support humans, right? I like when I look at you, I don't say white or black or anything. We are humans. We are one, and I was upset about that. But what people forget is that stuff happens every day. People die every day. People get mugged every day. Police kill people by being rough, choking them, or doing stuff. Why him and making it a big thing? And then
what do you think about that? Why? What do you think? I think it was done on purpose. I think
I have to
by
agree.
A policeman. By a policeman.
I have to agree with you. One, if you look at one point, I was doing my research, then I realized the Black Lives Matter. They actually admit that they are not for family. They are not for faith. They are like a radical group. So, like for me, I was taken, and why is all this happening? And the government's not doing anything about it. That's why I said you have to do your research. You have to know what's going on, and so it's funny. It's always happening during the elections.
Yes, or before the elections. Yeah.
Yeah, and then but now if you look at it, actually, my fiance, which is I'm gonna be getting married very soon. Her mom, she's Apache. This America this is their country, but the English came over, and you know the story, right? But this was their land. But she's a very powerful
sure.
And are you a man of faith?
Me?
You believe in God?
You asking me?
Yes, I'm asking you.
Well, actually, no. I don't believe.
You don't believe?
No.
So you don't believe anything?
Maybe I do believe in faith, but I do not believe in God himself or itself. I don't know.
So it'd be a little bit harder to explain to you, but if you read the Bible, there's a lot of codes in there that you have to go through and figure out yourself. But like everything that from the beginning of when you read the Bible and until now, there's supposed to be a certain amount of plagues, like Ebola, all these crazy Spanish flu, all this is happening. But the last one, so my fiance's mom is a shaman, and she's done over 400 exorcisms. Have you heard of exorcisms? So if you believe in God, you better believe there is a devil, right? So like you believe in faith, but then there's the good and there's the bad. There's the light and there's the dark, right?
Yes, exactly.
Why do evil people do the things that they do? So she broke down. It's actually not another plague coming through the Bible, but it's the evil thing that man does is the plague. So that's kind of like how
actually, one thing that surprised me, because this situation actually was made for common people, and I wonder why famous people, sportsmen, for example, like Thierry Henry, the soccer player, LeBron James, they were leaders of this Black Lives Matters. I don't know why. Don't they understand that this is too much?
I don't know what they think. I rather not follow mainstream news. I rather follow the news that I've been getting through some really close friends of mine that do research, and also I do follow some social media influencers that talk the truth and break down everything that happens. The truth is hidden with a lot of lies in mainstream media, so you don't know what to believe. All you gotta know is, I with my trials of life, if it wasn't for God, I don't know where I would be today. And there's a lot of things that happened to me that would be like a miracle. So I'm here, and I have to honor God, and I thank God for all that He's given me. Look at Khabib's dad. He's a man of faith. I posted in my story after he beat prayer. He's all thank God. So
yeah.
God is my number one, my go-to for everything. My faith is what's getting me through this tough time. And I mean, it's been a tough ride for me this year. This year and last year has been very tough. I've been in a 2-year divorce. My ex is, it's been crazy.
Could you please give us a short story about your start in martial arts career? Because as far as I know, you started from Taekwondo. Is that right?
Yes, I started in Taekwondo. I came to America as a refugee. I went through 3 refugee camps, one in the Philippines, one in Guam, and one in Monterey. And I left Vietnam a week before the fall of Saigon. And so after all the refugee camp, I came into this country, and guess why my mom put me in martial arts? I was being bullied. There's a lot of racism. It's always going to be around. So she put me in martial arts, and then I started doing martial arts. Then I started wrestling, but I was doing it for me, for self-defense. But then when I found wrestling, I fell in love with the competitive sport, and I represented my high school, my junior high school, and in my high school and my junior college. Then I found martial arts again, and then I think that was how everything evolved for me as a martial artist. The path of a martial artist, the faith in God, the faith in the skills and what I learned, and applying it and trying to be that role model that everyone looks up to, and they can see the light, and they can see me be the change that I want to be in the world, that I want to see in the world.
Well, actually, I put my eye on, excuse me, I put my eye on your Taekwondo classes, because actually I used to do Taekwondo also. I've got a black belt in Taekwondo, and so that's why I was quietly interested in that. But you told that you were doing sambo, wrestling. What kind of wrestling was it, by the way? Freestyle or Greco-Roman?
Well, in high school, it's collegiate wrestling, right? But then since 7th grade, I wrestled year round. I did freestyle, Greco-Roman, and as a freshman in high school, we went to they call it the AAU Nationals, right? And they had sambo, they had freestyle, and they had Greco. Actually, a sambo, Greco, and freestyle. So since I paid a lot of money and I had to raise my own money to go, that sambo, I didn't understand sambo, but I know you can wrestle. So I put on the gi and I did sambo, and it was like another wrestling match with the gi. It was really hot. I was like, oh my God, so hot. But I as a senior at the AAU Nationals, I won sambo, I won Greco-Roman, and I won freestyle. And I remember after that,
you like most?
So sore. I was sore for like almost 2 weeks because I had so many matches. Sambo, Greco-Roman, and freestyle in a 7-day competition.
Oh, yeah. Oh, really? What did you like most from these 3?
I just like the gold medals that I won.
That's it.
Yeah, but I actually, because the gi, I wasn't used to the gi. I was so hot, and I thought that was the toughest because my body overheated fast, and I wanted to take the gi off. As soon as I was done with my matches, I took the gi off, and I just had to lay there and cool down, So,
how did you join Wushu Sanda or Sancho? I don't know how you call it.
Oh, I enjoyed it a lot because you can punch, you can kick, and you can wrestle. So that was great for me.
Yeah.
I was able to put all the tools together, and I know the Russian teams they're so powerful. Them in China are all 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. So.
I know that you took part in many different international competitions. Did you meet Russian fighters? Actually, the strongest fighters from Russia are from Dagestan. This is Khabib motherland. Did you used to fight?
I lost to the only Russian I lost to was Ramazan.
Ramazan.
Yeah, he was a 3-time world champion. Very, very good fighter. I lost to him on points. That was my first year fighting in the World International Tournament, and so he was so powerful. He knocked me off the platform, and I lost by getting knocked off the platform. And then he was just very powerful. But then after that, in '97, I lost to Iran in the semifinals, and I had already beaten the toughest guy in the tournament in the quarterfinals from Belarus. He was knocking out everyone. I beat him on points. And Iran, I got disqualified because he said I kicked him in the groin. And so there was a Russian fighter in the finals, but the Belarus guy, he seemed to be the #1 guy in the tournament, and I already had beaten him. So I thought, oh man, this is the year. Then I lost to another Russian in the 2 years later because the World Championships. But I had dysentery, but I was doing really good, and I was part of that team, with the Muslim, and then then later on that guy became heavyweight. So,
oh, really?
Yeah.
That's great. Mr. Lee, I also do know that you were a professional kickboxer and you've never been defeated. Is that right?
Yes, in the ISK and IKF, yes.
So you beat everybody, and after that, you decided to become an MMA fighter. Why?
Well, because my promoter, he said that I've done everything I could in Sanda and kickboxing. At the time, I fought on every platform, and I should try out MMA. So I tried it.
Well, do you agree? Well, actually, as for me, when I quitted Taekwondo, I started to do boxing, and afterwards I went to kickboxing to join hands and legs. Well, as for me, I think that kickboxing is one of the most explosive and the most spectacular martial art. But nowadays, kickboxing is not that popular as MMA and boxing. What do you think? Why?
Well, MMA is the fastest growing sport in the world, right? So, but I believe Sanda, if someone promoted that right, it would be really good because you got boxing, you got kickboxing, and you got throws.
Yeah.
MMA, you got smaller gloves, and you have a lot of jiu-jitsu, and so now you have to use it all, and that's why it's like the modern day gladiators, and people love to watch people fight.
Yeah, but you remember such a promotion like K1? It was on the same level. He matched actually MMA and boxing, but when they fell off, kickboxing practically died. Why? What do you think?
What I believe is, as we evolved in the martial arts game, and the UFC, they had the show Ultimate Fighter. And that's what made MMA become mainstream. They got to watch a reality show. They got to follow personalities on that reality show. And from that reality show, made MMA become a household name. And that's something that kickboxing didn't have. They didn't push the personality enough. What I noticed is like they show them training, but they really never got behind their lives. Like in boxing, the reason why boxing is so popular is because the show 24/7. 24/7 follows Mayweather, Pac-Man, and it made them become international stars because people got a chance to see how they lived and see what kind of person they are in real life. So if that happened during the kickboxing days and they showed people's personality and how they live by the martial arts way, then kickboxing would have been as popular as MMA now. But they didn't do that. So they miss it. That they missing the missing ingredient, which is the personality building. Because like when people watch sports here, they don't follow LA Lakers. They follow LA Lakers because of Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
They follow because of Shaq. They follow
LeBron.
LeBron James, right? So that's why the personalities nowadays,
Yes.
it's all about the personalities.
Exactly.
That's why.
What do you think? What do you think about the money? Because nowadays the richest sports are boxing and MMA, and I think that's the circle. Because kickboxing doesn't have money, so if it doesn't have money, it doesn't have popularity.
Well, here you got to also look at this, right? If you look at what boxing makes, they MMA fighters don't make even 20% of what those guys make. Yeah. And the reason why is because the UFC has locked down all the market. It's called a monopoly. And that's why I'm fighting for 1,200 fighters. I'm fighting for Khabib. I'm fighting for even Conor. I'm fighting for every single one of those guys, because even though Conor has made a lot of money and Khabib has made a lot of money, but because of them, UFC's made 10 times to 50 times more than what they have ever made on their name, on their blood, on their sweat, and on their life. Because every time you step inside the octagon, you take a risk of losing your life, and they should be getting paid for that risk. They should be getting paid at least 50% of what the promoters make. But no, UFC, they're greedy. And that's why there's a class action that it's Kung Lee versus the UFC, but Kung Lee stands for 1,200 fighters. And there's John Fitch, who's part of it. There's Nate Corey, John Fitch should have been in the first Ultimate Fighter, but I don't know what happened. But Nate Corey was. Then Brandon Vera's in there. So we have that class action against UFC, and I'm fighting for all the MMA fighters.
Okay, so you do agree with John Jones, with Curtis Blades, that recently told that UFC should give him more money?
Of course, I've been fighting for this for over 5 years now. They're just late on the show. If they would have joined me 5 years ago, this wouldn't be the problem. We would have had the Muhammad Ali Act. You understand the Muhammad Ali Act, right?
Sure.
They have boxing pushing that to go to MMA. So I'm fighting for all the fighters, and there's a whole handful of fighters fighting to get the Muhammad Ali Act into MMA. So I've spent my own money, and of course Rob Macy and all the people behind, we've spent our own money to go to Washington to push the bill to get the Ali Act approved. And so, if Khabib jumped on, if all these Russian fighters jumped on, it would be already done. But now John Jones is coming on. We've been fighting long before John Jones been doing this.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Yeah.
I got you. Mr. Lee, in Russia nowadays, maybe in America also, there are so popular so-called freak fights, when DJ is fighting against blogger and they receive millions of watching, they receive millions of dollars. They are not sportsmen. They're just they have different job, but still they decided to fight, and people love it. What do you think about that? And they have a lot of money, much more than the real sportsmen do. What do you think about that?
Which fighters who are these?
There were two famous bloggers and famous DJs decided to fight, and they promoted their fight that way that they gained millions of dollars, but they never fought before. And that's why I'm asking you, Mr. Lee, what do you think about that? You fought all your life, but you never saw such kind of money.
Yeah, so that's why the Muhammad Ali Act is really important. And I want to stress it to all the Russian fighters that we need to push the Muhammad Ali Act from boxing to MMA. Why? Because now if UFC or any other promoters that do MMA, they have to give the fighters their fair market. So if the UFC is making much money, they have to show the fighters this is what they're making. Then the fighters can negotiate. Well, I want this much money, right? And say,
Yeah.
If there was the Muhammad Ali Act, just real quick, let me finish. If you're a promoter and I'm a promoter and you say, hey, Khabib, I want to promote your fight against the #1 Bellator fighter, right? But then I say, I will promote that and I'll pay $10 million more than what you're going to pay. I win the bid. But I have to pay the fighters more. That's what the Muhammad Ali Act, it opens free market, you know? You froze a little bit.
Okay, I see you. Proceed.
Did you get that? Did you hear me?
Could you please say it once again, because there was some problems with the internet.
No problem.
Please, Mr. Lee, if you don't mind.
So if you were a promoter and I was a promoter and you say, I want to put on this fight, but I outbid you because I'm going to give the fighters more money, they come to me. That's what the Muhammad Ali Act. It's open, it's free market. You can bid on certain fights. I can bid on certain fights. I can promote certain fights. You can promote certain fights. And you can't lock the fighters down for years and years and years. You have them for your fight and maybe another fight after that, depending on what you negotiate. But in the end, they are their own. It's like they are the business. So we have to pay the business the real money so they bring us the business. That's a way to break it down. They are the product. The fighters are the product. It's not the promoter. No one wants to see Dana White and Lorenzo fight or talk in the cage. They want to see Khabib.
Yeah.
And at my time, they want to see Kung Lee. They want to see Conor. They want to see everyone compete.
Mr. Lee, exactly. But my point is, I wanted to ask you, of course, the fans of MMA do really want to see fighting, real fighting, Khabib, Conor, Kung Lee, and many, many others. Real fighters, real sportsmen. But I always wanted to know why many people want to see fights against, when a blogger fights against DJ. They are not sportsmen. They are not fighters. They show crap, but it's so popular. Why?
The reason why
I don't understand. What do you think about that?
So the reason why it's so popular is because they have a big fan base. Just like Khabib, that he has all of Russia, but then he has many fans, but he's not getting paid as much as he should be getting paid. Right?
Yeah, sure.
These guys, they don't need Dana White. They don't need a Bob Arum. They don't need any of these MMA promoters or even a boxing promoter. They do it themselves. And just imagine if Khabib says, I'm going to fight Conor again, but I am going to promote the fight. Conor's going to get half. I'm going to get half after we pay off all the costs. How much money would they make? But they can't do that. Why? Because they are locked, handcuffed into a UFC contract. And that is where the fighters are getting used by that contract. Now, if it was Ali Act that protects the MMA fighters, they can promote their own fights and make as much as the DJ and that blogger, you know. So that is what is happening. The UFC has cornered the market. They bought out Pride. They bought out WEC. They bought out Strikeforce.
Yes, they did.
Else for the fighters to go and negotiate. They have the lockdown on the market. Now there's Bellator, but Bellator doesn't do pay-per-view.
Yeah,
so
they don't. Mr. Lee, speaking about the Bellator, I wanted to ask you, that was actually another question for you. Bellator now often produces some kind of veteran fights. For example, Ken Shamrock versus Roy. I want to ask you, Mr. Lee, if there was a very, very good proposal for you, would you agree to come back to fight in Bellator against a veteran, maybe against Kung Li Sильva, with a rematch?
Hey, you know, if the money's right, you know, you can always get the interest, but really I have to think about the whole big picture, right? So, I think I done a lot, and I'm not sure how many people want to see like the older Kung Lee fight, right? So, I
They
don't know.
do. They do. They do, because I'm telling you, because such veteran fights I named you before, they were very popular. They were so I'm sure that many people, many spectators would love to see. I see that you're in a great shape. I see that you're in a great shape. So if there was a very good proposal for you, speaking about the money, so would you agree?
Of course, if it's really, really, really good money, of course. Why not? If it was like if I had the Muhammad Ali Act protecting me, of course, it would be easy. I would definitely do it. Look at Mike Tyson; he's coming back, right? So, of course, I'm always open to it. I always train. I have to keep up with my son now. He's an animal. He's a beast.
Oh, really?
So my son, Anthony Lee. I have three sons, but Anthony Lee is the fighter. And my oldest, he was very naturally talented, but I think I pushed him too hard. And that was a mistake as a father. I won't do that again. So I did it right for Anthony. But my third son, of course, Robert, he's I don't get him that much because of my ex. It's just a hard situation. So, and that's a long story, which we don't need to get into.
Okay.
But of course, if there was the right money, I would fight. Yes, it would be awesome.
Speaking about the sum of the money, or what? Maybe you can name the number of the how many $1 million you have to get paid to get it back.
See, the good thing about me that people don't understand is I'm also an entrepreneur. I would never negotiate against myself, because if I put the number out there, maybe I wouldn't get that much, but maybe someone would be willing to pay me more. So if I put the number out now, then I'm negotiating against myself. So good question. But as an entrepreneur, I'm writing my own scripts. I'm going to produce my own movies. I'm going to really make my own money, because I'm not working for someone else. I'm not working for like a UFC or some. I got my own production company. I'll sell the movie myself, and I'll make more money. I'm doing the same thing what I would do in a fight if there was a Muhammad Ali Act in the movie world, and I can do that. No one's got me in a contract. So that's the difference. And if Khabib ever watches this, and all the Russian fighters, if you're watching this, please,
they will.
Your help in the Muhammad Ali Act, from boxing to MMA. I'm fighting for all of you. Please stand behind us. MMAFA is the fight association. We're not a union. We're a fight association that fights for all the fighters of combat sports to get equal pay.
Right. They will definitely see that. Be sure. Mr. Lee, do you follow UFC today? Maybe you follow somebody personally. Maybe you keep friends with somebody of the fighters.
All the exciting fights, right? I watch all the Khabib fight. I watch all the Muslims fight, because Muslim, he was a Sanda fighter, and when I got out and I started doing MMA, he was the reigning king of Sanda, and I was so happy that there was someone who's a martial artist who had respect, who represented the martial arts in that world, because like in the MMA, a lot of the fighters didn't come through martial arts, so their respect level isn't as the same as someone who's a traditional martial artist, where they bow, they come in and they honor their fighter, and they don't talk too much. They just fight. They fight with their heart, because a lot of, like, I noticed even my son, when fighters, they talk bad and they do certain things, it influences the youth, the younger fighters. And that's what I worry. These fighters, they're just doing what they have to do to make money.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they got to realize how many young kids are looking up to them. Now, if they start doing like 2 middle fingers and talking really bad, these kids copy them. And these kids could be at 5 years old because they're a fan watching the MMA. And now they're cussing and they're doing the middle finger and they're acting a certain way because they see their idol who fights MMA do it. So it's just it's a hard, like a really hard line to figure out. You got to promote yourself. But if you most Russian fighters, they got the spinning back kicks. They're well rounded. So I noticed a lot of them they don't talk. They just humble and they fight, which is great.
Think about Zabit Magomed Sharipov, who is fighting in the featherweight, curly hair. He came from Wushu Sanda. Do you follow him?
I follow him. Zabit is a great fighter. I believe he is already in the top 4 or 5 in his weight. I think one more fight after he beats the guy from Mexico, I think he should be in the talks of a title run. So he's beaten and like a lot of up and coming fighters, but he's that fighters that got the hair. He salutes in fights.
Yes,
honorable, right? He honors the martial arts. He honors the people, and he knows there's a lot of kids watching out there. So if he's like acting a certain way, those kids are gonna act like him. So I think I hope he gets a title run real soon.
Do you follow now Fedor Emelianenko's life? Do you know that he has returned? He keeps fighting. What do you think about that? He's also a veteran. He's a true legend, but he keeps fighting. He loses fights, but still he does it still.
I don't know. I follow Fedor for a long time, since the Pride, since he was fighting in Pride. And, sometimes, like over the years, I think the chin, it's not as strong. And, sometimes you got to, if you really need the money, then fight, right? If not, enjoy life. Because training for a fight and putting the time in and being away from your kids and your family because you have to train is hard. The fighter's life is very hard. A lot of people don't see that. And, I understand. I understand because, now that I haven't fought for over 5 years, of course I miss it. But now I've seen my son grow, and I've made a big positive influence in him, and I'm doing something special for all the MMA fighters out there. I'm fighting for them. I'm fighting against corruption. My fiance, her kids got kidnapped by CPS in Kentucky. That's how them is, So, so like a lot of interviews I've done, and then there's recently this interview. The guy says, "Kung, while you're fighting for all the UFC fighters, then you're fighting corruption in Kentucky. You're fighting the two-headed dragon. You are in the biggest fight of your life against two big dragons." And so that's the fight I'm fighting right now. I'm fighting for justice, and I'm fighting for fairness. For the fighting for corruption for my fiance.
Yeah. Just a few words about MMA. What do you think? Can somebody beat Khabib in the lightweight division? What do you think now? Or he is a true leader and nobody can stop him for now?
You know what? Anyone can be beat, but I don't see Khabib being beat because, like a lot of people don't give him enough credit for his stand-up. He trained Javier Mendez. They're a really good camp. Javier was my MMA coach, and they have a lot of good fighters out there. And there's a lot of good fighters in AKA and Khabib is the guy who swims down rivers and wrestle with bears. There's too much. And the great thing about that, what makes him hard to beat? His faith in God. His faith in God, his religion. That is the difference. His faith in God is because that is what makes him hard to beat. Because he knows God is there for him because of his faith. And there's a saying, God before you, nothing can stand against you. True.
Yeah. We have the same saying in Russia, actually, the same, word to word. All right, Mr. Lee, now about your acting career, could you please tell us how did you decide to become an actor? How did it happen?
Well, I was doing arts, and then I got on TV, and then when I started doing MMA, I fought my third fight, and I was doing wheel kicks, and I was throwing the guy around, and I was just like dynamic. Everyone said I looked like they were watching a video game or watching an action movie. So from there, I just started getting a lot of offers, and I got some movies, and I auditioned. Then I realized, wow, I can't fight forever, but I can act.
Yes.
And then when I started doing these movies, I realized, wow, I can produce my own movie. If I get an investor, they can make half and I can make half. It's just like, here's a promoter, here's a fighter.
Yeah.
And here's a movie. See, so yeah.
Were you a director of the fight scenes, or somebody helped you?
No, well, on a lot of the movies, there was another fight director, but they always ask, like, hey, what do you think, Kung? What do you think, Kung? But I got a chance to work with Wu Ping, who's the best Chinese action guy. I worked with him twice, and he trusts me, and like I literally didn't even have to rehearse. I would show up, I'm ready to rehearse, and then we go one rehearsal. He's all very good. We shoot. I'm like, right now we're shooting. So so I got a reputation. So when people get me on set, and they're from the Chinese or Hong Kong style movies, they're like, okay, Kung, we do this, we film it. You ready? We film. Okay, we do. Let's go. So then I realized I'm able to put my own action together. For Dragon Eyes, I put all the action together. So
all right.
And I won an award for it, best action in a movie at the Action Film Festival. So I know that I know what I'm able to do, and I also want to expand. So now I'm writing my own scripts. I'm writing scripts at what pop culture wants to see, what you as a martial artist want to see out of a character. Someone who's humble, someone who's, when they turn on, they are that badass guy. But then they know and they fear death and they respect life. That's the character that I'm writing for the world to see.
While these fight scenes, did you knock somebody out occasionally, or somebody did get injured like Jackie Chan or something like that?
I was supposed to film this way before the Frank Shamrock fight, but the movie kept pushing, so they brought me out, and there was my part was a little bit longer, but I only gave them a week, and then I went out there, and on the last day of the filming, I got 21 stitches on my lip right before my Frank Shamrock fight.
Oh, really?
Weeks before the Frank Shamrock fight. So, God was great. He let me get through the movie. I got a chance to play my favorite character in the video game, Martial Law in Tekken. And then I got to fight and defeat Frank Shamrock. So
I know that you used to work with Jean-Claude Van Damme. Is that right?
Yes.
Could you please tell me what is he in real life? Because actually I was raised, when I started to follow martial arts, it was actually because of him. So could you please tell me what is he like in real life?
Jean-Claude Van Damme, he was fun to work with, right? He at the time he was open. He was like the student of the game. Every time after training, I would go, hey, I'm gonna go to Whole Foods. So one day we went to Whole Foods together, and he goes, Kung, what do I need to take? I don't know, Jean-Claude. I don't know what your diet is, but this is what I take. Then I took him to the store, Whole Foods. He ended up buying $1,000 of vitamins that that he needed. Then he paid for all my stunt team and my meal, because Whole Foods had a burger bar there. We all ate like a lettuce with organic beef. We all ate that, and he paid for everyone. And then we finished on the set, and he was, he was fun to work with. He was fun to work with.
That's great, but actually, you know what? There were some rumors, and they said that many times Jacques-Claude Van Damme actually was working before the camera under influence. I mean, alcohol and drugs. Is that true? Did you notice something like that, or do you know anything about that?
Yes, I did. A year before he started this movie, this was his first movie coming back. The movie's called Dragon Eyes. He had to go to a rehab clinic for drug abuse. So, but you know what? I don't judge. I just he's back. He's in the movie. I got to be the star of the movie, and he was my co-star. So I was happy. I felt blessed by God that I got the opportunity to work with someone I grew up and watch. You know, Lionheart and Bloodsport and a Time Cop. So I was happy that I got a chance to work with him.
Right. What is your favorite role in movie? What you proud most, and why?
Believe it or not, I haven't got a chance to do the role that I really want yet. But my favorite role, I think it's got to be in the movie Pandorum. It's with Dennis Quaid and Ben Foster, and it's where the world we live in is about to die because how humans live. The pollution, everything. They send like a Noah's Ark into space, and then through evolution and through the change of how people are in incubators, because you don't get to this, the planet that you can live in overnight. It takes years and years and years, and we've been asleep for like hundreds of years. And when we get up, and people change. So you got to check out Pandora. My role, I was the hero that saved the day in the end of the movie. I saved mankind. So,
all right. Another question. You actually already mentioned it, but could you please say once again? Because as far as I learned, as far as I know, that practically all your characters, all your movies, they are action movies. And you fight, you beat, or you get beaten. Practically that's it. So could you please tell me, maybe you would like to play some another character, some I don't know, some dramatic or something like that?
Yeah, actually, I got a project, and it deals with the end of the world. A very dramatic, very sci-fi horror, and it's a character that's very deep, and he has to protect a person that could save the world.
By the way, speaking about Tekken movie, we all do know that it is based on a video game. Did you used to play? You said yes.
It was martial law.
Yeah. And my favorite one actually is Hwarang, who is a Taekwondo fighter, as far as I know.
Yeah.
And my question is, I researched, and actually there is your character in the UFC number 3. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
A fighter Kung Li is actually involved in UFC 3, and I saw him on you fighting. Well, so as far as I can understand, you didn't see that, yeah?
Well, I knew I was part of the UFC game, but since I am against the UFC and I'm fighting for all the fighters, they pulled me out.
Oh, really?
On the UFC number 3 game, I'm on there, right? Or
yeah,
the third most played. I don't understand. Which one?
No, I mean that there was a game, UFC number 1, UFC 2, and UFC the third part. And as far as I understand, that your character is in this game. I saw that.
Yes.
So you didn't know. Well, I do really wish.
Actually, I knew that I was in the game. I knew. Yeah.
Yeah. And I wish you could play for yourself. Could you do that if there would be an opportunity? Will that be interesting for you?
Yes, it would. You know, I definitely enjoy playing. I enjoy playing games with my son, but you know, I try not to do too much because it takes a lot of time. So there's so much to do in a day, so much that I would lose if I play games half the day. So.
Speaking about kids, Mr. Lee, could you please tell a few words about them? What do they do? You told me that they go home for sports, that you want them to fight. So please.
Well, I never want my son to fight because it's such a hard life. But my oldest son, he's got a city job. He's doing well.
What is his job, by the way?
He goes around and checks on all the homes in the area, and he gets a head count of how many people live in the house. So it's like a set, right? How many people? So,
Okay.
he's 19. He's gonna turn 20 soon. He made me a grandfather. So.
Congratulations!
So, thank you. And my youngest son, my middle son is Anthony, who's 15 years old. He's gonna turn 16. I think he's gonna be the next champion. Very, very gifted, very mentally strong. And then my other son, Robert, with my ex-wife, is it's just a hard because the relationship with my ex is not good. So
I understand. So two sons live with you, and the youngest with your ex-wife. Yeah, is that
my
right?
oldest is on his own. He's
Right.
on his own.
Yeah.
And then my middle lives with me. Yeah.
And so you said that you would never wish your son, especially Anthony, to become a professional fighter. Does he want to become a professional fighter himself?
Yes. I don't wish it upon him, but if he wants to, then I support him, and then I will train him, and I will push him, and I will make sure he takes all the steps that it'll take to become the best fighter that he could be.
And so, of course, you will definitely help him to avoid mistakes that you've made yourself.
Yes, I would.
So, do you want him to become an MMA fighter, or kickboxing, or maybe boxing?
Of course, the top of the food chain, which is MMA fighting. But I want him to be able to fight in anything that if he wants to kickbox, he'll kickbox. If he wants to go out and do MMA, he can go MMA. And then he's also a really good wrestler. So if he wants to wrestle, then he can wrestle.
Did he have any competitions already?
Yes, he was a freshman in high school. He did amazing for his first year. He made the varsity team. Then he got injured halfway through the season. But in fighting at a young age, we call it continuous fighting, where you can kick to the leg, you can do some takedowns. He's undefeated.
All right, Mr. Lee, we've been speaking for about an hour. I've learned everything I wanted. So I do wish you, your family, your kids, your sons, health, luck. I wish them to become champions in any sphere of life, and of course, I do wish you luck. I hope that your movie will go on, and you will become the most famous producer all over the world. Mr. Lee, thank you for your time. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me. Hi to everyone in Russia.